Hey guys, nice to have you with us on Mansfield today, this Saturday. We've finally done the deal. Can you believe it? We were talking about our designers, our interior designers, and suddenly up popped Mark Scher.
Brett.
Where the did I get Mark from?
It's okay.
Can I call you anything?
You can call me anything.
Yeah, okay. Right. Peter Scher. No. Brett Scher popped up out of nowhere, okay, and started talking about homemade fabrics here that he was putting together. So we decided to put him in, and he's brought a whole array of stuff. We'll go through some of it in a shot. Let's just go back on the conversation we had. I was interested at that stage in where you were sourcing material and where you were selling material. Let's go back on the sourcing firstly.
So essentially how I started was I used to buy antiquities and collectibles. And I would source essentially for museums and collectors. And I would bring back pieces of fabric, something like this, for example. Yeah. And the people I was selling to would say, you know, that's a really great piece, but I don't know what I'll do with it. But if you made something from it, I would be very interested. And that's how we started more than 27 years ago, making different kinds of product from the handmade fabrics. And I started very slowly sourcing from neighboring countries, from Zimbabwe, from Swaziland. And today we source from Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, Democratic Republic of Congo, Namibia, Zimbabwe, and Swaziland. Those are the main countries we source from. And what we essentially do is we source only handmade, hand-loomed fabric.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these then have been made by people, or the covers to these fabrics that you've made. What you've made these covers out of? Yes, I'm not with it today, eh? Is all stuff you would find in the middle of nowhere being hand-loomed or hand-woven.
So for example, this is quite a well-known African mudcloth that comes from Mali and also Burkina Faso. And what happens is that area is where they grow a lot of cotton. So the cotton is picked, it's hand-spun, and it's woven on looms about 10 centimeters wide, because that's traditionally what the nomadic loom was, so that it could be packed up very easily and taken with people when they moved off to the next place. Right. And that custom of hand weaving on the nomadic loom has stayed for quite a while. And you know, look, the reason that we ended up in this niche of hand-woven fabrics is we used to do everything. We used to do commercially bought fabrics off the roll, but when China started flooding the world with cheap and synthetic fabrics, we moved more into this kind of a niche, and that's where we find ourselves still today. We do sell in South Africa, but unfortunately, we only sell to the tourist destination markets. South Africans tend to go for things that aren't available in Africa. They tend to go for kind of Eurocentric home interiors. And our other markets are the UK and also the US.
Now, there are untold amounts of entrepreneurs who would die to be in the US, in the markets, just because of the sheer size of that market.
Yeah.
You know, a very small order for them is a massive order for us.
Yes, absolutely.
How did you break into the American market?
Well, it was a matter of having a product and an agent at the right time and luck. and also being able to take a risk when, people came to me and said, instead of a usual order being 1,000 pieces or something, and suddenly they wanted 10,000, taking a chance and saying, oh, well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be able to do it. The thing with the US is you've got to think big. You don't get small orders necessarily from the US. Well, that hasn't been my experience. If I do get an order from the US, it's normally pretty big. We employ full-time 10 people, but our supply chain to supply the raw materials throughout Africa is about 400 people. So it's pretty big. And the people that we employ in South Africa have been working with me for many, many years. They have a very specific skill in working with difficult handmade fabrics that have got holes and are uneven and very stretchy, and it's very difficult to work with. But we've got a team that's been together for the person I've had working with me the longest has been with me for 27 years. So
I suppose
it's a tricky business.
I suppose if you are working with material like this, for example, now I can feel the texture of this. Apart from the fact that it's just beautiful, to be honest, it's all raised and sewn over and all the rest of it, which gives it that rough African feel to it. I suppose you've got another advantage in that you pick up one of these things and you rub your hands across it and this is this is handmade.
Yeah.
You could feel it.
Yeah, there's definitely a very organic, textured feel to it, and also all of them are kind of irregular. They've got a very textured, natural feeling to them. It's a very nice feeling, and it's a very nice look as well. A very natural look.
Now, just tell me about these runners that you brought in. You brought in some runners down here.
So this is a runner that comes from the Democratic Republic of Congo. This comes from the Kasai region, where these fabrics have been woven from a palm tree that grows naturally in that area called the vinifera palm.
Let me just show you here. Maybe we can get in a bit closer, and you can even see. Can we get in closer on this, Jared? He's just nodding his head at me, which either means yes, we can, or you swine, I'm going to kill you after this show. There we go. You can see the for want of a better word, the knottiness to it, the rawness of it.
Yeah. So if I'm going to get a little bit technical, if you can imagine how baskets are woven, this is woven in a very similar fashion, in that the fronds of the vinifera palm tree are taken and stripped out to make it into strips that are able to be woven, and the base cloth is woven and dyed, and then there are layers upon layers upon layers of other fabric that are woven in an applique fashion. So you'll find a base fabric that has layers woven on top of it and stitched down. So there's a huge amount of work in this. A standard 3-meter piece of fabric is normally made by one homestead, and it's traditionally woven by the men. And they start in this tradition from about 10 years old, learning how to weave this. And it takes, for a 3-meter piece, about 3 months, taking into consideration that they do this after their normal working hours, especially because the Kasai region is a very rural region where a lot of people are subsistence farmers. So after they've done their day's work in the field, they'll sit around, and this is the men's domain, essentially. Obviously, things have changed over time, and you do find women involved. And things are evolving, and patterns are evolving, and colors are evolving. But essentially, it's very skilled work in applique sewing. And it's amazing to think that this started as a palm tree.
Palm tree.
And then it's stripped out and then woven like you'd weave a basket, and then the layers are stitched on top in an applique fashion. The way they wear this is they would wear it for traditional rituals and ceremonies, and it's going to be wound around the waist normally. There are a lot of other very intricate cloths like this that get woven over the shoulder, and there's different colors that depict royalty and other colors that depict your standing in the community. But when you have rituals and ceremonies, births, deaths, marriages, celebrations, harvest, etc., a lot of people would traditionally wear these and wear it as attire. So they're quite incredible pieces of fabric.
Absolutely are.
When we get them, they are relatively fragile, and we have to work them and reinforce them into a product that is economically viable. So you don't want someone buying it and a week later the thing falls apart and they return it to the shop.
Yeah.
So we have to take it and we have to reinforce it and we have to work it into something that becomes an economically viable product.
It's fascinating. It's absolutely mind-blowing what people can do with such little.
Yeah. And also, I mean, it's really, if you think about this has all been done by hand, the end result is really something it's quite a wonder to think about the fact that people have done this by hand.
Now, what would you use this for? Would this be a throw over a couch like this, or?
What a lot of people do is they would use it at the base of a bed, spread over a double bed or a king-size bed,
right.
Or they would frame it and have it running from top to bottom.
Yeah.
Okay, or like we've got over here. I don't know if you can reach over there, and I'll reach over here. And these are the cushions that have been made from this particular fabric, and they've I don't know if you'll be able to see, but they're reinforced inside, and the applique is actually stitched onto an inner fabric to make it more hardy, and it becomes a viable product.
Now you see what worries, doesn't worry me, but what irks me is you will go into for example, a lodge in South Africa, and you'll see stuff made in China that looks pseudo-African, when you actually have the real thing available in our own country, made by our own people on our own continent.
It is a shame, but in a high volume establishment, there are reasons for it. They want to have the look. And when those guests have checked out of that room, they want to take that fake made in China or made in India African type of fabric and throw it in the washing machine and put it back out. So there's a very practical reason for it.
This will not work.
This has to be dry cleaned and it has to be treated with care, otherwise it just won't last long. So for those high volume establishments, there's a very practical reason for that, unfortunately. But they do have scattered in between the real thing. Yeah. I think that those fake replicas made in India and China are absolutely awful, but there is a reason for them, unfortunately. I'd be much happier if they used mine and bought a whole lot more from me. This is just a very lovely textured hand-loomed linen that's been dyed red, and it's really great as an accent piece on a couch.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff that we have, even though it might not all be handmade, it's all very, it's got a very natural feel, and it's very textural and tactile.
It is tactile. It's to me, it's a little bit sort of weird because it's got that tactile feel to it that when you're watching a movie or something,
You want to hug it.
you want to hug it and watch the movie, but it can get a little prickly. So it depends what movie you're watching. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it is an
it's nice.
incredibly
Yeah.
huggable.
It's really nice to have natural fabrics. You immediately feel the difference.
Yeah.
It's like when you get a 5 rand cushion, synthetic cushion coming from China, you can almost feel the heat radiating off it because it's so synthetic and it's static and when you've had one of those and you touch something that has a natural feeling to it, there's a very big difference.
It's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for dropping these off. What we'll do is over the next few weeks we'll utilize them on the show. So you will be seeing them on all of the leisure shows, on this show, on the gaming show, and what we may do, I think, and I'm waiting for my producer here to give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. What we may do is we may start moving the travel show because it is so linked to travel. We may start moving the travel show from our big studio into this more intimate little studio. So we'll mix and match these up until we sort of get tired of them, and then we'll kick your ass and ask you to come and pick them up and bring us another lot. And
Okay. I'll be happy to do it.
That's wonderful. Peter Scher. It's Brett Jetchop. Brett, thank you very much for coming in to
Yeah, thanks for having me here.
I look forward to the relationship.
Great.
Good one. If you did enjoy the show, there's no prescribe there. You see, I was trying to catch you. Subscribe. Press subscribe. And we'll catch you with the NAG team tomorrow, talking about the latest things in gaming. Look forward to that. Cheerio, bye.